Hello, this is an introduction to the politics course. Politics is a course which sits within the History and Politics department here at Godalming College. My name is Laurie Huggetwald and I'm the head of History and Politics at Godalming. I'm going to start off with a brief overview of what is involved if you do choose to study politics here at Godalming. You study 3 units as part of the course, looking at UK politics and the core ideologies of socialism, liberalism and conservatism. Alongside that, you look at UK government and feminism, and then in the unit 3 you have a choice between either American politics or global politics. That first unit involves looking at matters such as the extent to which the UK is fully democratic, the differences between the political parties in the UK, how they overlap, how they disagree with each other, how elections work in the UK, whether or not they're fit for purpose, whether or not they're in need of reform, why people vote the way they do, why do people vote for the parties they vote for, and what influences them in making those decisions. And you'll also look at the ideologies of conservatism, socialism, and liberalism, and what theories they have for how politics should work. Alongside that, you look at UK government and feminism. You look at the constitution of the UK, which is really unique, and how it works, and whether or not it's in need of change, or whether it needs updating. You look at Parliament and how representative Parliament is. Does it do a good job in representing our views and what we want? You look at how much power the Prime Minister wields, in particular how much power they wield in comparison to Parliament and how those two clash with each other. You look at the different parts of the UK political system and how they all interact with each other, how Prime Minister and Parliament interact, but also how the Supreme Court interacts with both of them. And finally, look at the different forms of feminism, things like radical feminism, liberalism, liberal feminism, and how they agree or disagree with each other. For your Unit 3, you have a choice between either global politics, in which you study the challenge that China is posing to America in terms of global supremacy and who's the global superpower. You look at the UN and how much need a reform it is. You look at the EU and how powerful the EU is, both in terms of international stakes, but also in comparison to its member states. You look against the fight against global poverty and why this has been unsuccessful in parts, and look at human rights and the extent to which they're truly global in nature. Alternatively, for your Unit 3, you could choose to study American politics, in which you look at the US Constitution, its strengths and its weaknesses. You look at the US political system and how the two parties differ. Look at how much power the US president wields, the role of the Supreme Court in America, and also look at how US president is elected and the representatives elected, and whether or not that's in need of reform. I'm now going to go over a couple of case studies of different things that you could look at and kind of talk about how they're relevant. So one thing which you look at in your Unit 1, when you're looking at British politics, is pressure groups within the topic of democracy and participation and how democratic the UK is. Pressure groups are any group which kind of campaigns for a better society. That could be anything from a charity all the way through to a trade union. A really famous one which is relevant at the moment is, of course, the Extinction Rebellion. The Extinction Rebellion have been campaigning for the UK government and UK people to take climate change more seriously. And they've been successful in that. They've pushed climate change and the environment up the agenda and have got parties and people talking about that. And they're a really good example of how pressure groups can enable political change and also how pressure groups allow people to get involved in politics in a way which perhaps they wouldn't do normally. There's this argument that politics is more than just voting for political parties, and pressure groups such as Extinction Rebellion really but within that, you'd also look at the more controversial elements of some of these pressure groups. Extinction Rebellion is most famous perhaps for some of its more illegal actions and methods it uses. Part of Extinction Rebellion's main ethos is the idea that they want its members and want its protesters to get arrested. They think that gets it headlines and therefore gets it in the news and therefore gets it changed. And that's why we've seen many of the actions they've taken, things like blocking London Bridge or blocking the bridges across London. They're designed to get arrested. People get arrested in a non-violent manner, and it's their way of raising things up. And this is something which you look at when you look at the pressure groups topic. You look at some of the positives of pressure groups, the undoubted positives, and the way in which they can elicit political change and allow for political representation. We'd also consider things such as their negatives as well, and perhaps how they're undemocratic, some people would argue. An alternative thing you could look at, if you looked at US politics, you'd look at whether or not Trump would win in 2020 if you chose to take the American route. You've got both sides now have selected their presidents and their candidates, and for the Republicans, it's Donald Trump versus the Democrats' former vice president of Joe Biden. This election this year is going to be one of the most hotly contested in a long time as Trump seeks to gain a second term and the Democrats seek to stop him. Trump's presidency is obviously been incredibly controversial, and so this will be a really hotly contested one. You'd look at the reasons why the election will go the way it does and get to, of course, enjoy kind of considering the results of the election as part of this. The US election has always been normally decided by the economy. Bill Clinton, a former president, said it's the economy, stupid, and had that actually put above the doorway into his campaign office. And if you see on this chart here, you can see that Trump's on the economy until recently, and coronavirus has been doing brilliantly. And so perhaps you'd expect him to get re-elected. But coronavirus maybe has complicated things. When it comes to global politics, coronavirus is very relevant there as well. One of the big things you look at is this transition of power between China and America. China is rapidly gaining on America as the world's biggest superpower. Has coronavirus given China the opportunity to replace America as the world leader when it comes to international relations? America, for recent history, has been the most dominant actor in international relations and has been the one leading the way. Arguably, this change in situation caused by coronavirus and the lack of leadership that Trump has provided has given China and their president, who is shown here, called Xi Jinping, the chance to replace America. Are people going to start looking to China for leadership rather than America? A notable example of that is the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization, an international institution which coordinates responses to these pandemics and to global health. Donald Trump has been widely criticizing the World Health Organization and accusing China of being, or the World Health Organization of being too in China's pocket, whilst China, as much as possible, have been trying to work through the World Health Organization. This could be seen as an example of a wider trend we've got, which is China starting to challenge America in these institutions, not only the World Health Organization, but institutions such as the United Nations. China is increasingly trying to wield its own influence in the international stage and to challenge America. And that's a big thing you look at when you look at global politics, is the extent to which China are doing that, and the extent to which they're trying to supplant America in international relations. If you choose to study politics at Godalming College, you get to look at all kinds of very relevant and very topical points. Anything which is happening in the news is basically directly related to the course itself. And in that respect, it's a brilliant course to be studying at the moment, as all kinds of things are taking place in the news, and you get to link them and incorporate them into your everyday work whilst you study politics here at Godalming College. If you have any questions at all about this course or other aspects of it, then please do email me at lhw@godalming.ac.uk. Thank you.